In the 22nd century, Earth is on the verge of environmental collapse, overdeveloped, and overcrowded. Since it's impossible to fix it, scientists come up with Project Terra Nova, which sends people 85 million years back in time to start civilization over, hoping it goes well this time. While waiting for their turn, people in the city have to wear special masks to deal with the polluted air, and they have to live under strict military-like law enforcement. A new rule allows families to only have 2 children, but Jim and Elizabeth secretly have 3, Josh, Maddie, and Zoe. One day Maddie rushes into the apartment and warns her family that she saw the population police in the building. When they hear someone knock, Elizabeth quickly hides Zoe in an air vent. The police then come in and start tearing up the apartment, but they don't find anything. They're about to leave when suddenly a scared Zoe cries. An officer opens the vent and grabs Zoe, causing Jim to lose control and assault the cops. The officers easily overpower him and Jim is sent to a maximum security jail for 8 years. 2 years later, Elizabeth visits Jim at prison to tell him she's been given a place in the 10th pilgrimage to Terra Nova, but she is not allowed to take Zoe. Before leaving, she gives Jim a mask since the prison air is making him sick. Inside the mask, Jim finds a laser cutter that he quickly uses to escape. On his way downtown on the train, he removes the police tracker from under his skin. When he reaches his destination, he finds a bag Elizabeth left for him with a fake ID, a gun, and lots of money. At the time portal station, Maddie, Josh, and Elizabeth pass the security check. Soon Jim arrives by hiding under a car and his ID also passes the check. Then he pays an employee to get him to the other special bag Elizabeth left for him. Jim sneaks around to mingle with the traveling crowd, but security sees him on camera. When he finally finds his family, he trades bags with Elizabeth. At that moment the guards drag him from the line for interrogation, so Jim waits until all his family has crossed the portal to react. He elbows the guard's face, steals a gun, and runs into the gate. In just a second, Jim appears in the past with the other travelers. Soldiers immediately surround him and try to run a knife through Jim's bag, thinking it has weapons. Jim immediately knocks the soldier out while Elizabeth checks the bag, revealing Zoe wearing a mask. Afterward the travelers are taken to the colony, where they're welcomed by Commander Taylor. The colony is desperate need for a doctor, and since Elizabeth is one, Taylor allows her to keep the 3 children. Jim's only experience is as a cop, so he's assigned to agricultural detail. The family is given a house, and while they're settling down, they realize Zoe has wandered off. They find her outside happily feeding some dinosaurs. The animals accidentally lift her off the ground, but she falls back without getting hurt. The next day Josh meets Sky, who shows him there's a hole in the gate. They sneak out of the colony and go swimming in the waterfall. There's some mysterious rocks with golden symbols, and Sky asks Josh to keep the secret because Taylor doesn't want people in this area. At the clinic, Elizabeth checks on an unconscious thief named Carter who was shot down. When the guard calls him a Sixer, Carter suddenly jumps and puts a laser cutter against Elizabeth's throat, using her as a shield to make the guard drop his weapon and take it for himself. Carter leaves the clinic and Jim notices he's suspicious, so he chases him through the market until he manages to tackle him down. After the other guards take Carter away, Taylor takes Jim to the waterfall and tells him that the Sixers are a splinter group with an agenda who came from the 6th pilgrimage with a secret supply of weapons. He also makes Jim part of Terra Nova's security force. At that moment they notice 2 cars approaching the colony, so they rush back to their car to chase them. The Sixers open fire, revealing they're actually escaping from 2 huge dinosaurs. One of the beasts goes down, but the other manages to eat one of the Sixers. Then the dinosaur hits one of the cars, so Taylor jumps out to distract it while the vehicles enter the colony. Once everyone is safe, Jim picks Taylor up and brings him in too so the guards can shoot at the dinosaur to scare it away. The leader of the Sixers, Mira, wants to rescue Carter and offers meteoric iron in return. It turns out the Sixers control the quarry, so Taylor accepts the deal. Shortly after they leave, the Sixers are attacked by a dinosaur and they run away, leaving a car behind. Josh's group hears the growling and tries to go back, but they discover their car's parts have been stolen by the Sixers. They find the abandoned vehicle nearby and notice the blood next to it. At that moment the dinosaur appears and the teens get inside the car where a bleeding Sixer is hiding too. They want to leave in the car, but the dinosaur already destroyed the engine, so they can only wait. At the colony, worried parents notice children are missing and the guards organize a search. By nighttime more dinosaurs appear and start destroying the car, so the teens open fire with the Sixers' weapons. Enough shooting scares the dinosaurs away and one of the teens thinks it's safe enough to run back to the colony, but she only takes a few steps before she's attacked. She's barely alive when Taylor's team finds her. Soon a dinosaur attacks the teen's car again and grabs a boy out by his leg. Josh and Sky come out and open fire, only for a second dinosaur to knock them down with its tail. Another teen tries to reach their previous car and is also attacked, so Josh has to run to protect him. More dinosaurs show up and surround him, but luckily Taylor's team arrives and scares the beasts away with lasers. Josh also saves his son from an attack just in time and everyone gets to return safely. A few nights later 3 soldiers go out of the gates to get supplies, however they must stop the car when they get a flat tire. Suddenly they get attacked. The next day Taylor's team goes looking for the missing soldiers, only to find them all dead with their faces covered in blood. The bodies are taken to the clinic and Elizabeth concludes the men were attacked by above. Jim finds a claw in a soldier's boot and gives it to Dr. Malcolm, who will run some tests. When Elizabeth returns home in the evening, she informs Jim that they've found a new predator species. She also admits she dated Malcolm before meeting Jim. Later, when the couple is trying to get intimate, they hear a weird screeching outside. Jim and Josh go out to investigate and find some flying reptiles. Josh throws a rock at them, but that enrages them and makes them attack. The guys get a few scratches before they manage to get back in the house and the animals fly away. The next morning Malcolm confirms the scratches match the scars on the dead soldiers. Soon the creatures fly over the colony and start attacking the residents. Everyone runs to hide and luckily nobody dies, but there are many wounds. The animals fly away together and the locals can't understand what scared them off. The soldiers manage to shoot one down and Malcolm retrieves the body to study it. He theorizes the creatures are migrating from another region, which is confirmed when their scanner finds thousands of these beasts in the forest. Taylor remembers that when they built the colony they found eggshells in the ground that made the land fertile, which means the creatures are attacking because this is their breeding ground. To find a solution, they'll need 2 living specimens to study them. Jim heads out with the team and they bring the necessary specimens. After studying them, Malcolm and Elizabeth find that they can produce a powerful pheromone that can lure all the creatures away from the colony to another location where they can breed. In the evening, thousands of these flying beasts attack the colony, and since the scientists are still working on the pheromone, everyone has to hide in their homes. Soon they break into Jim's house through the vents and knock out Maddie's crush Mark. Josh, Maddie, and Sky quickly bring the body into another room only to discover they forgot Zoe. She's currently hiding under the furniture and Josh tries to save her, but the little dinosaurs block his way. Thankfully he manages to push them off and save Zoe when she's about to be attacked. Once the pheromone is ready, Jim and Taylor put it on the back of a car and spray it to make the creatures follow them to a new location, successfully getting rid of them. Later at Outpost 3, a scientist is playing around with a green beetle. He follows it out of the building and bumps into a dinosaur that immediately devours him. Soon Elizabeth, Taylor and a soldier arrive to investigate since they lost communication with his outpost. They notice the gate is open and the cables are chewed. Inside they find notes saying do not go outside and this is not a dream. There are noises coming from another room and when they look inside they see 2 people tied to the tables before a woman blocks the window. She can't remember why she's there, only that she was running around in the snow before coming to the lab. In the lab they find a video left by the dead scientist talking about early stages of memory loss that everyone in his team was going through, including himself. Looking at the notes, Elizabeth theorizes some kind of experiment went wrong and Taylor announces the outpost is under quarantine until they figure it out. Elizabeth begins working on analyzing all the things in the lab and after a quick phone call with Jim, she doesn't remember who Zoe is. The next day Jim is worried because they haven't heard from Outpost 3. The soldiers don't want to leave without Taylor's orders, so Jim asks Malcolm for his private vehicle. Malcolm agrees as long as he comes to, and before leaving he gives Jim a root to chew on since he keeps sneezing because of a cold. When they make it to the outpost, they find dinosaurs biting the wires, but the animals run away as soon as they see the lights. The duo enters the lab only for Elizabeth to shoot Jim with a sonic rifle. She doesn't recognize her husband, but she does recognize Malcolm and even hugs him. It turns out she's lost 20 years of her memory and thinks she's in medical school again. Malcolm looks over the notes Elizabeth made before she lost her memories and learns there's some kind of virus in this lab. Memory loss is the first symptom and eventually it ends with death. They find a video Elizabeth recorded before losing her memories and she describes a few more symptoms. At that moment the power goes out and Jim goes outside, thinking it's the dinosaurs chewing the wires again. However, he hears a weird noise and a shadow runs by. Jim follows it inside, where he finds cut wires and an unconscious soldier. Suddenly Taylor jumps on top of Jim and threatens to shoot him because he's lost his memory too. Thinking he's at war, Taylor asks about his family before knocking Jim out. In the lab Elizabeth and Malcolm analyze blood samples and discover someone was experimenting with gene therapy. Malcolm tries to use the moment to kiss Elizabeth, but at that moment Jim comes in and pulls him away. Then Jim tells them about Taylor who just disappeared and Elizabeth finds it curious that Jim doesn't have any symptoms. Malcolm helps Jim move the unconscious soldier but in the middle of it he loses his memories too. At that moment a dinosaur appears behind them so they hide behind the door. Jim breaks some wires as bait and the dinosaur runs to munch on them, so the men lock the creature up. Then Malcolm starts freaking out so Jim knocks him out with a punch. In the lab Elizabeth finds on the computer that the experiments were done on a man with Alzheimer's. Suddenly Jim sneezes and takes out the root Malcolm gave him. Elizabeth analyzes it thinking it's the cure, but the test is negative. Then Jim sneezes again and Elizabeth realizes it's the cold that it's keeping the mutated virus at bay, so he kisses her to pass it to her. At the colony Josh and Sky kiss, but Jim admits he still thinks about the girlfriend he left in the future. Sky then introduces Josh to Tom, who can bring items and people from the future if they pay him enough. Obviously Josh doesn't have money, but Tom is interested in having the trust of a cop's son. Soon Taylor arrives at the gate and thinking this is an enemy country, he brings down a guard. Maddie is worried about her parents, so Mark takes her to the office to ask Lieutenant Washington about them. Suddenly Taylor jumps out and takes Mark hostage, but at least he recognizes Washington. Since Taylor keeps asking about his family, Washington has to remind him that his wife is dead. Hearing such a tragedy, Taylor tries to self-delete, but Washington stops him by shooting him with the sonic rifle. In the morning, Taylor wakes up with his memories thanks to a vaccine made by Elizabeth. Everyone is fine and feeling better. Meanwhile, Tom secretly meets with the Sixers. It appears he spies for them and he asks Mina to bring Josh's girlfriend so they can get a cop's son under their power. A few nights later, the gate guards see something strange moving in the jungle and go chase it. After some running, they discover it's just a little girl named Leah. She's brought to the clinic, where she breaks a bunch of things until Elizabeth manages to befriend her. Leah explains her parents are dead and that she wants to go back to the future to live with her grandmother, but the adults inform her the portal only works one way. Since Leah is terrified of Taylor because Mira told her he was a bad man, Elizabeth takes Leah to live with his family. Suspecting Leah may be a spy, Washington and a few soldiers go to the jungle to find Leah's backpack. Suddenly they're attacked by Sixers and Washington puts up a fair fight, but the group is overpowered and captured. Afterward, the Sixers take their hostages to the colony, where Mira tries to exchange them for Leah. However, the girl wants to stay here, so Mira releases the soldiers and the Sixers leave empty-handed. Sometime later, a couple reports that someone broke into their house and exposed a now empty hidden compartment beneath the floor. Washington remembers this house used to be Myra's and Jim announces they must find Leah. They run to the gate and catch her before she can escape. It turns out Leah had to take a mysterious container from the compartment and bring it back to Mira, who threatened to hurt Leah's brother to make her act. She doesn't know how to open the container and nobody can open it by force either. Taylor doesn't believe the brother's story and makes the guards detain the girl for now. Later at home, Jim finds a note from Leah saying "I'm sorry," which he sees as proof of the brother's story. Jim decides to save the boy, but when he enters the jungle, he falls in a rope trap left by the Sixers and accidentally drops his gun. A dinosaur appears and tries to attack him, only to be shot down by the Sixers. Jim is knocked out and taken to their camp, where Mira explains Leah's brother was never in danger. She only made Leah think so to motivate her. Mira also shares that Taylor pissed off some very powerful people in the future who want him gone. These people also have Myra's daughter and she works under their orders to protect her. She refuses to say who those people are and sends Jim back with Leah's brother. While the siblings reunite, Jim doesn't tell anyone what he learned from Mira. A few nights later, a soldier checks on a communications station. When he opens the door, he's attacked and killed by a dinosaur. In the morning, the team comes to investigate and they assume it was just a random wild creature, but Jim finds scratch marks inside the building indicating it may have been a trap. The body is brought to the clinic and Elizabeth finds the blood of a herbivore dinosaur, which Jim theorizes was used as bait to attract the predator. This confirms it wasn't an accident, it was murder. Washington and Jim interrogate the other soldiers and learn the dead guy had a secret girlfriend. Then they check on the victim's belongings and realize his tag is missing. The radar indicates it's moving, so the team goes into the jungle to follow the dinosaur that swallowed the tag. After a long chase, the group manages to shoot the creature down and get the tag from its stomach. The tag contains a selfie of the dead soldier being affectionate with a married woman. The team returns to the colony and interrogates the woman, who denies having an affair. At that moment, her husband arrives and admits he knew about his wife cheating, so he killed the soldier. The next day, Taylor announces the murderer will be banished from the colony. The man is sent out to the jungle with only one weapon and a small backpack. Moments later, he's found by Jim, who suspects the man lied to protect his wife. The man admits it's true, so Jim sneaks him back into the colony and they go to see the wife. However, she says she didn't kill the soldier either. In fact, she broke up with the soldier a few weeks ago because he liked to gamble too much at Tom's bar. Afterward, Washington and Jim check the soldier's financial records and discover someone owed him lots of money. Finally, having proof that there was illegal gambling in that bar, the soldiers immediately arrest Tom. While the team searches the bar for clues, guard Curran tells them that Tom escaped. Jim and Taylor go with him to the jungle and reveal Tom is actually back in the colony because his arrest had been an act. It turns Curran is the one who owed the dead soldier money and that's why he killed him. Curran denies it and tries to shoot Taylor, but he's given an uncharged weapon. Taylor then beats Curran up and finds the gambling records hidden in Curran's jacket since he took them while they searched the bar. As punishment, Curran is banished to the jungle without supplies. In the meantime, Malcolm brings to the clinic a rare dinosaur egg. It hasn't hatched yet because of a body defect, so Elizabeth performs surgery through the shell to fix the baby's leg. The egg finally hatches and